Hi guys!
Hey!
Welcome back to our channel, and this week we're going to be comparing Walt Disney World in Florida to Disneyland Paris. So here we go.
Okay, so this video is pretty basic. We are literally just going to compare the two together. So there's going to be food, there's going to be theming, there's going to be restaurants, there's also going to be fast passes.
We're not going to go too much into rides. We have discussed the difference between the rides on another video, and we're just basically going to do everything else but the rides today. So we're going to kick this off with talking about the food in Walt Disney World and Disneyland Paris. And the first kind of main difference between the two parks is their dining plan. So obviously we've talked about the dining plan so much in Walt Disney World, so we're not going to go into too much detail. But with Walt Disney World, you get your, depending on what plan you want, you get your quick service credits and you get your table service credits.
That's if you stay on property. Obviously, you don't get.
Well, no, you don't have to stay on property to have the Disney dining plan.
I thought you did.
I feel like you can buy the Disney dining plan even if you're not on property.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, but when it comes to Disneyland Paris, you do have a dining plan, but it's different. Basically, they give you paper vouchers, and that is your credit.
Yeah.
So they have a value. So I think I really don't remember the actual values, but I'm just going to say this for an example. Say you had 25 euros for a meal. You would literally take that voucher in to wherever you go for lunch or dinner, and they would take 25 euros off the cost of your meal. Obviously, whereas in Walt Disney World, how the dining plan works is you literally just use a credit. I don't think it has a value as such.
No, there's just...
I mean, there will be a max value.
There is no max value on it, because the way that it works is there's, on the menu, they'll have next to it if you're allowed to get it. Yeah. So certain things on the menus you can't get, and they tell you that.
There technically will be a value.
Yeah, there is a value, but but they're not... So for instance, with one meal credit you can get a $9.99 sort of like a hot dog or something, or you can go for like Flame Tree Barbecue and get like the nearly $30 meal, and it's both free. You know what I mean? Like they don't have a exact amount. I don't think you can even find out how much they're worth.
No, I think the difference is the dining plans in Walt Disney World. It's really easy. As Jez said, next to the meal there's a little symbol which shows you you're eligible for that on your plan. Whereas in Disneyland Paris, we literally had to ask the people, how much is this voucher worth? And we were told like 3 different numbers. Like they didn't even really seem to know. Because obviously we went to table service meals and we wanted to know how much money we would get off that meal. And we asked a few different cast members and they were all just kind of like, I think it's this. I'm just like, how do you not know? It's just very vague. The Walt Disney World dining plan is a lot more simpler to understand.
Yeah, and it's kind of a bit more disheartening as well with the vouchers, because you just kind of scan your band and that's it, you get your meal. Whereas if with the vouchers in Paris, you hand over the voucher, you might know that voucher's worth, I don't know, 28 euros, and your meal has actually only come to 16, you don't get your money back.
They kind of made you feel bad, didn't they? They'd be like, are you sure you want to use this?
Yeah.
They'd be like, yeah, this is where we want to eat. They're like, well, you can make most of your money if you go here. But like, yeah, but we want to eat here.
Yeah, they try and push you into other areas, which we'll talk about in a minute. Right, so we're going to talk about the actual menus and stuff like that. So in Disneyland Paris, as we use the vouchers, when you go up to the kiosks for we'll start with quick service. You go up to your quick service kiosk and there's normally sort of 2 or 3 things on the menu. That's not everywhere, so don't think that I'm knocking it, because actually there are some places that had 4 or 5 things on the menu. But like, for instance, we went to Colonel Hathie's, and I remember I think it was like a lasagna
or two different
flavoured pizzas. You know what I mean? I get it, don't go to Colonel Hathie's if you don't want lasagna or pizza, but if your kids wanted that pizza, you'd have to have pizza or lasagna, you know what I mean? It's not other options. Whereas when we were in like Orlando, you'd go places and there would be a few things on the menu. So you might be able to get chicken nuggets, you might be able to get shrimp, you might be able to get, they'll have a set idea, but they're sort of more, sometimes it's a bit more, so there's always at least 5 things on the menu, sometimes even more, depending on where you go. The bigger ones obviously have more on the menu. The other thing is with restaurants. So we haven't been to a huge amount of sit-down restaurants in Florida. We've been to a few, but we haven't even scratched the surface. But for instance, when you go to somewhere like Be Our Guest, you go to Be Our Guest and there's a menu to choose from. You can pick a starter, you can pick a main, and you can pick your dessert. And it doesn't matter what you choose, really. Whereas in Paris, it's all set menus. So, for instance, we went to Chez Remy, and there's like a linguine menu, there was the Remy menu, the Gusto menu, and I think the meal menu, and they're all set. One starter to choose from, and then there was maybe 2 or 3 mains, and then like 2 desserts. You know what I mean? And they were all set price, and you kind of didn't get much of a choice.
And you couldn't mix and match.
You couldn't mix and match. We did. They allowed us to mix and match on the ratatouille.
No, they didn't.
They did. They let Nan swap her starter.
Yeah, but she had like a kids meal in the end.
Yeah,
but it was literally like the meal that we went for. We wanted to go for because the main option was steak, and I wanted to try the dessert.
Yeah.
But the only option for starter was this like artichoke or something salad.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay. I would have never have picked that. They had like soup and stuff on the menu, but because we wanted the steak, we couldn't have that, which I know that's how set menus work, but all of the restaurants were like that. You weren't able to have that and that. You would have to have one column of food, which...
I mean, luckily, when we went to Captain Jack's, which is previously Blue Lagoon, I wanted the main, but not a starter, and Charlotte wanted my starter, but not her main, so we actually swapped.
We sneakily switched.
Yeah, which, well, slightly sneakily is what's the problem? We've ordered one menu, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that worked out quite well. But that doesn't always happen. I mean, obviously we went to Walt's, which I was extremely happy with actually. Again though, set menus, it's all the set menus in these restaurants. Now I'm not saying that Disney World doesn't have set menus, because I'm sure some of the restaurants do. I've not come across them, but they might well do.
I think like when you do like the VIP package show thing, it might be, but in Walt Disney World you can have what you want basically, whereas in Paris it's a lot more restricted, but you know, that might just be maybe a cultural thing.
No, I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah, we liked both anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so as we were saying earlier with the vouchers, so when you're in Disneyland Paris you get your vouchers, whereas in Florida you don't. They try and push you into the all-you-can-eat restaurants and buffets and stuff in Disneyland Paris. So there's like agrabars and stuff like that. And
we didn't actually do one.
We didn't do one because one, we just wanted to be in the park constantly, and 2, I mean, in hindsight, I might have liked to do one, but actually, I don't feel like I missed out. I mean,
I've been a buffet breakfast.
Yeah, I've been told that it's amazing, the quality of food actually that these buffets provide, but they just push you into them. I feel that they go, here's your voucher, and then every time I use it, for instance, we went to Casey's, and he went, are you sure this is what you want? It's like half the like the value, and I was like, yeah, because you'd be much better off going to the quick service. And then he said Dagger bars is just around the corner over, and I sort of thought, is there a reason? Are they trying to push us into these areas?
It's weird, like even on the vouchers it tells you where you can use that voucher, so it would list like the 4 buffets. It wouldn't say anything about Casey's, and we were like, oh my god, can we not use this voucher in Casey's? You can, I just, for some reason they push you towards the buffets. I don't know if it maybe they're trying to help us out to make us, you know, get more for our money, or if it's cheaper for them. I don't know.
I guess it's not a bad thing, because actually if everyone's in the buffets eating, it just makes the queues a little bit smaller.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, what I'm saying is I didn't want to spend an hour in a buffet, because let's face it, if I'm going to go to a buffet, I'm going to be in there at least an hour, because I'm going to want to eat. Whereas if I've got a hot dog, I can eat it 20 minutes and I'm gone, I'm away, I can carry my drink with me. Whereas a buffet, I feel like I have to stay, to try a bit of everything, and before you know it, you've wasted an hour and a half of your time, and also you might not be able to get in straight away, that's a queue.
I think for us, because it was our first trip to Disneyland Paris as well, we wanted to make the most of being in the parks.
Yeah.
So I feel like when we go next time, we probably will do buffets, because we won't feel like we have to rush around and do everything, because we did everything to the bone when we went last time.
But to be fair, their restaurant's pretty cool. So you got like Colonel Haffy's and like the different names of them and stuff. That's pretty cool. So that's part of the reason. So like Toad Hall, we had to eat there. It's very well themed. So it's great, which we're going to talk about in a minute.
Okay, so the next thing related to food is the breakfasts they have in Disneyland Paris. So when you go to America, pretty much everywhere you go for breakfast, they'll have the standard fry up, you know, your eggs, your bacon, your sausages. You'll have then like your pancakes, your waffles.
Biscuits.
Literally anything you can think of. They will have pastries, the lot. When we went to Disneyland Paris, the breakfasts obviously aren't American breakfasts. You know, Americans have bloody chicken and burgers for breakfast. Whereas in Paris, when we went to an all-you-can-eat buffet breakfast, and it was more of a continental breakfast.
Yeah.
So it was very limited selection. It was croissants, a couple of pastries, and then like cold meats and cheeses, and I think there was some cereals, and that's literally about it. But that is a cultural thing. Like, that's what they have for breakfast in Paris. It's not a Disney breakfast. It's,
no, like
you know,
when I went to
French
when I went to France, what I had for breakfast whenever I've gone as a kid growing up and stuff.
Yeah, and then we had breakfast a couple of mornings in the park. We went to the same place in their version of like Tomorrowland, and it was like there was two options. There was either a sweet breakfast where you had croissant, or there was like a burger, but it was omelette burger.
Omelettes, yeah. It was actually quite nice.
It was really nice. Don't get me wrong, the food is nice, but don't go over there thinking that you're going to be having fry up and Mickey waffles for breakfast, because they just don't have that in Paris.
Now, this may be a little bit of a misjudgment. I'm not sure, because the hotel where we stayed, Cheyenne, the actual place where we could eat breakfast, which was the Chuckle Wagon, sorry, I don't know, was shut for refurbishment, so we could only eat breakfast in the park. Which I thought...
we ate it at Santa Fe.
Yeah, we got charged.
Yeah, but we got charged, we had to pay like $4 each.
€4. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
no,
€4 each.
yeah, which I think was unfair. If our hotel's breakfast was shut, we shouldn't have to pay for the one next door. We should have to get that free.
Yeah, but I think we would have paid $4 if we'd have eaten in the Chuck Wagon. I think that was just what the voucher was limited to, because the breakfast vouchers, you don't get as much of a budget as what you do with the main vouchers.
No.
But yeah, they're basically just not, the variety's just not the same.
But I mean, we went to Cafe Harporion, which is the one in the park. We couldn't go for breakfast in the park, but I did up until 10 anyway, so it didn't really matter.
That was literally the only place we could eat.
But we got that omelette burger, and I mean, you got the omelette burger, you got a bit, but you also got a hot drink and a cold drink.
Yeah, like you just get a good
You got
amount.
2 drinks, which is nice.
We went for like 5 or 6 days, and because that at the time that was the only place you could eat, I was just kind of like, oh, no, I don't really want this again.
Yeah, no, it got to a point where, I mean, I actually really enjoyed it, but like...
After 5 mornings.
Yeah, 5 mornings with the omelette burger, because I didn't want the sweet one, because I didn't feel like it was enough for me.
Yeah.
The omelette burger was quite beefy. You'd be able to see it in the previous vlogs.
I think there was somewhere else you could eat as well. I think there was like that Bella Notte.
Yeah, but Bella Notte was shut.
That was shut, so it was just like everyone went to the one place, so you can imagine the lines.
Yeah, it was like 30-minute queue for breakfast. It was a bit of a...
Whereas in Disney, you know, you can obviously have an all-you-can-eat.
You've got to stop
breakfast
saying
your
in
hotel.
Disney.
Sorry,
in Disney
sorry.
World.
In Florida, you can obviously have a breakfast in your hotel, which they...
In the park.
Yeah,
but also it doesn't
everything's
matter
open.
because it's breakfast. A credit is a credit. It doesn't matter if it's breakfast, lunch or dinner.
Yeah.
The value doesn't change.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's face it, you can't beat breakfast anywhere else but Sleepy Hollow.
Just America in general.
Yeah, well, yeah, they do.
Just do food right.
Okay, so the last bit around food is kind of tied with the next section. I'm talking about theming of food. So in Disney World, you can get your Mickey waffles, you can get your Mickey pretzels, you can get
Mickey
cupcakes, you
cake
can cake pops,
everything.
Star Wars things, all
Ice
that kind of
creams,
stuff.
Mickey shaped ice creams.
Yeah, Mickey shaped ice creams. There's just so much based around. So you can get the Darth Vader cupcake, you can get Olaf, and there's loads and loads of stuff that's all themed. Okay. Disneyland Paris don't quite do it as well. Now, I'm not sure if this is because their food is done by an outside company, same as like Tokyo and Shanghai. I'm not sure, but there was no real Mickey themed stuff or even Disney themed stuff. There was like, you can get
there was the Jedi burger. That was cool. That was cool.
The Jedi burger was cool because it had Jedi stamped on top. That was cool, I'll give them that. But the Yoda cupcake was just green. It just had green icing on it. It didn't have anything to do with Yoda at all. So it wasn't really a Yoda cupcake. And their chicken nuggets are star shaped.
That was cool.
That was cool.
And their pizzas.
But, yeah, they're star shaped pizzas. Now, I feel like we've been a little bit mean to Paris. Paris was amazing and the food was pure quality. But I feel like we did it the wrong way around. I feel like we did Disneyland Florida. Disney World Florida. And then we did Disneyland Paris. So it's like, it'd be like eating at the Ritz and then going to a Wetherspoons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, Wetherspoons is amazing and I love a good Wetherspoons, but
it's not the Ritz.
It's not the Ritz. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's what you pay for. You know what I mean? Like, to get us to Florida is 10 times the price of getting us to Paris.
Paris is amazing though, don't get me wrong. We love Disneyland Paris. But...
And in the next section, Paris is probably gonna do much better than you think. So it's fine. It's not like we're bad-mouthing them. It's going to continue this way and change a little bit. It's okay.
So the next kind of thing we're going to talk about is the theming. So this is more like the atmosphere of the parks, the theming of the parks. Disneyland Paris, I thought, was extremely well themed.
Yeah.
Like, even to the point of the restaurants. Like, the restaurants are huge. So Toad Hall, for example, is a massive English-looking old house.
Mansion, yeah.
And it is
country estate.
enormous, just for one restaurant. Like, absolutely huge. And I just feel like the theming was on point. Everything was so well themed. They had obviously all of the areas like Magic Kingdom does, but I just feel, I don't know if it's because everything's a lot closer together in Disneyland Paris. You'd walk straight out of Agrabah and you'd go through and you'd see like the the Snow White ride.
Yeah.
And it was just like, wow, there was just no gaps in between. And I think it's because it's close together. Whereas in Walt Disney World, don't get me wrong, Frontierland, Fantasyland are amazing themed, but you do get those kind of sections in the middle where it's like not really that themed, and there's like massive like outside Small World and Peter Pan's Flight in Magic Kingdom. Like, it's amazing, but it's just kind of like there's that massive walkway. It's not really themed anything, it's just there.
Yeah.
Whereas in Disneyland Paris, you don't have that blank space of nothing because it's like one theme straight into another.
The only way I can explain it is if you went to the big bits in Disney World where it's themed, so like Tangled toilets, like it's parts of Tomorrowland where it's like completely themed. That's like what they've done in Paris, just everywhere. There's no point in Paris that I remember where it's not themed. So there's a bit where you walk around the side of the castle where the Disney princesses do their show, and you walk right round, you can come around past the ice cream pile and you go to Small World. On the way round, it's like everything's themed. So they've actually got bits of the castle, so like outposts from the castle. They've got like fences that are regal for the castle. They've got all the trees are particularly cut properly. Now, the one bit theming that I got let down for in Paris was just as you're going in through the Disneyland hotel.
Yeah.
And there's that bit out the front where they had like, we were there for the 25th, so everything was blue and silver, and they had this blue and silver like floral area, and from a distance you're like, whoa, that looks amazing. You got closer and then literally someone had just sat there with a brush and painted half a pot silver and half a pot blue, and the paint job was terrible. So up close it was like really patchy and not very well, and I feel like if Disney World did something like that, it wouldn't be that standard. So yeah, one thing that I did notice around theming, and it's actually going to lead us into our next part of the video anyway, is cast members not being, I don't know, not
in the right, no, it's like cast members not being in the right areas. Like in Disney, they obviously, in Disney World, they have all of the underground tunnels, and if, you know, a cast member is coming on or off their shift or whatever, they hide, I don't know how they do it, but they basically hide the cast members, so you only ever see that cast member in that area. So for example, obviously the Tomorrowland cast members, you can tell they work there because the clothing they wear fits in with the theme. And we noticed a lot in Disneyland Paris, you would see someone who should be in Frontierland just randomly like walking outside the castle, or you would actually see cast members on their breaks, like walking in between shifts, texting on their phone. And like, fair enough, like, you know, they have to get to and from their shift. But you
they don't have the tunnels. I guess that I understand that it's hard, and if it's midsummer, you can't expect them to put jackets on and stuff.
No, but it's just like Florida just went that extra mile to keep the magic.
Also, as well, like, we went into the park at like, I think we went into Tomorrowland and we ran to Space Mountain, so it would have been 9:15 or something like that.
I think it was early in that. I think it's when we went for breakfast one morning.
Yeah, it might have been. Anyway, so we went in, and there's a hill just to the right as you go into Tomorrowland. So it's not Tomorrowland, it's called
I can't remember what they called it in Paris, but their version of Tomorrowland.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. You go in Tomorrowland and I can't remember. So yeah, you go in, and on the right is this big hill. We've got like flowers and trees, and there was just people they were in Disney uniform, but they were gardeners, or they were like groundsmen, and they were just doing the garden, digging up the ground, and, you know, doing bits and bobs. And it was very much like,
you wouldn't see that in Florida. It'd be behind a decorated scrim in Florida.
Scrim?
Yeah, that's what they call it, isn't it?
It's a screen, isn't it?
No, they call them scrims, like the scrims that like cover buildings and stuff.
Oh, I don't know.
And you know, when they have like scrims in it, like they have them on Main Street, but the scrim is like a picture of the building.
I have no idea what. I didn't know the school scrim. I don't know.
I might be wrong.
But yeah, they were doing the garden, and I was like, oh, I wouldn't see that in Disney World.
Yeah.
And like the phone thing as well, like Like,
I'm pretty sure that's like against the like cast member code.
Disney law.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it was
just little things that we noticed after the perfection of Disney World. You'd just be like, you would not see that in Disney World. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, watching someone go out of the gates with a rucksack on and they've just left from Tomorrowland.
Yeah,
it's a bit like
ruins the magic. It doesn't ruin the magic, but it's just like you wouldn't see that in Florida. So the next topic we're going to talk about actually links onto that, and that's the cast members in Walt Disney World and Disneyland Paris. The difference we noticed is the cast members in Disneyland Paris we didn't feel were as welcoming as the cast members in Florida. I mean, they weren't, some of them were rude, I'm not going to lie. Some of them were rude. But you'll go to a till in Walt Disney World and you'll buy something and they'll be so happy, they're just so excited. You can tell they have Disney in their veins, like they're so excited to be there.
All those being paid.
I mean, yeah, but they're just so happy. Whereas in Disneyland Paris, I felt like there was a lot less cast members that fit into that section. I'd buy something and sometimes they wouldn't even speak or smile or anything, and it was just a bit like, And I'm not saying that they were all rude, because they weren't, but I just feel like they didn't have the magic that the cast members in Florida had. We did have some great experiences with cast members in Paris though.
Spoken the wheel, my favourite ever cast member is probably from Paris.
Which
the one that serves us in Walt's.
Yeah.
She's probably my favourite cast member of all time.
Yeah.
Like she went above and beyond. She came in, she was telling us stories about the different foods and stuff, and because Walt's is obviously based around different foods that he liked, and she then, before we'd finished, we paid the bill, and she didn't just be like, right, thank you. She was like, would you like me to explain the restaurant to you? So she took us in every single room in the restaurant and explained the theming and explained why it was that way and explained what different bits meant. And she was very good. She was extremely good. And like I feel like, although I know you've got to give tips in America, it's sort of part and parcel of being in America and in Florida, I wanted to leave her a tip, which we did. But I feel like she really worked for that. She was really, really good and she deserved it. She was amazing.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, we had some great experiences. Also, we went to Captain Jack's.
Yeah.
We had a male waiter and he was amazing.
He was so funny.
He was just funny. He was perfect. You couldn't want any more from a waiter.
Yeah.
And also,
I feel that they put the good cast members, the waiters, on the rides and the experiences that you're going to pay extra for. So actually you get that level of service once you start paying. So
not always though, because another great experience we had in Disneyland Paris is when I bought that Jack Skellington candle holder.
Yeah.
And she was like, do you want me to just open it all up for you just so you can have a look at it? And it was in like foam, it was in a box, it was all wrapped up, and she opened it all for me. And this one was damaged, the one that I picked up. And she was like, oh, I'll get you a new one. And it was just like, it was great. Like, she didn't have to do that.
No, we could have got all the way back to England and realised it was ruined.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. The customer service in Disneyland Paris we had some amazing service, but in general, I think the customer service in Disneyland, in Disney World, was a lot higher than in Disneyland.
That, I feel, comes down to the culture of America.
Americans are over.
So anyone that's ever been to America knows that they'll start saying, they'll call you sir or ma'am, and they'll they'll ask you if you need any help, and they can't do enough to help you. And I don't think that's them trying to get a tip or trying to sell more or anything. I think that's just how they are. They're just very welcoming. They're very friendly, and like cast members. And even when we've been there, like I don't think I had one or two conversations with people in Paris. But the best conversation I had with anyone that wasn't a cast member was an American. Remember that woman? So,
yeah.
Oh,
so yeah, the woman in the
whenever we go to Florida, we always end up speaking to people. They'll be like, oh, are you vlogging? Or are you doing this? And they'll talk to us. No, we can speak to them for like 10 minutes in the queues, and everyone's so friendly and everyone's so welcoming, all the Americans. But I didn't get that in Paris. Like I didn't bump into anyone that kind of really wanted to talk and stuff like that.
Apart from one person.
Apart from one person. And she was from America, which was brilliant. So she was chatting to us and she was telling us about her trip, and we were talking about us, and it was really, really nice, because actually it was very much so at that point we were like, yeah, it's definitely an American thing.
Yeah.
So like my family in America and stuff, like I've been to other areas apart from just Florida, and it's exactly the same. You go into a shop in, I don't know, you go into a shop in Maryland or Baltimore or whatever, and it's exactly the same. They're exactly the same. You walk in, hi, how you doing? How's your day? Can I help you with anything?
They were like, when we went to the outlets in Florida, they were just sometimes too helpful. They'd,
Yeah.
as soon as you walk in the door, straight up to you, can I help? What are you doing? Oh, I love your bag.
Here's a basket.
You're just like, oh my gosh. Like,
It's a little bit OTT.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
but I like that.
It's quality. I think it's just this good. It's what you expect. So the last bit about cast members, this is probably one of my favourite cast member experiences.
This is one of my favourite memories.
So we went, I've never seen this before, we went to Typhoon Lagoon and...
it's in the vlogs if you want to go back and watch it.
Yeah. So we went down and I stopped, I filmed Tilly off in the distance. I went down and we went around, and you know as you kind of go around the corner and then you walk through the trees into the actual area, there were cast members all lined up either side. I reckon there's about 20 of them.
Yeah.
And they had like Sully hands on and they were going, woo, hey! They were like shouting and screaming and high-fiving us, and there's a guy, he was like, woo, Typhoon Lagoon!
Yeah.
Like that. It was quality.
It was like Typhoon Lagoon. It's just so good.
It was a good day, and actually that point there made the holiday, because, well, made the day. The holiday's really great, but it like...
It's like thinking about now, we think about that moment
Yeah,
because of what I did.
This went the extra mile. I thought it
Yeah.
was quality. I was absolutely, the security guards were there. It was everything. It wasn't just like cast members. Like there was these guys and like their
Was that
vests and
lifeguards and
security.
stuff,
Yeah,
wasn't there?
lifeguards. There was everything. It was just everyone was there, entering, and hoping you had a great day. It was good. I really enjoyed that bit. It's one of our favourite memories. Okay, so the next section is going to be all about shopping in Disney. So, shopping in Disney in the parks is pretty similar really. They've kind of both got a very similar idea. So Main Street in Paris is just a small version of Main Street in Florida.
I wouldn't say much smaller.
No, but not by much, but it is smaller. I think there's at least 2 or 3 less shops in the row.
Possibly, but they have those arcades either
Yeah,
side,
they
don't
do.
they?
It's
So
it balances out, but there is less shops in there just because they've got less space. They want to fill it with other things as well. You know what I mean? But pretty much shopping in the park is going to be very similar no matter where you go. But the difference comes in when you go to Disney Springs versus Disney Village. So Disney Village is Paris and Disney Springs is in Florida.
To give you just a rough idea of how big it is, you could fit Disney Village into one shop in Disney Springs.
Pretty
the world
much.
of Disney is literally the size
Yeah,
of Disney Village.
so basically you've got loads of different shops. Some of the main differences between them is obviously the size. Disney Village is
very small.
tiny in comparison, but again, it's space. They just don't have the space to do it. Whereas Disney Springs is constantly getting bigger. When I was a kid, it wasn't very big at all. It wasn't that much bigger than Disney Village. But now it is just enormous. So
it's like another park.
So yeah, effectively they've just built a shopping mall onto the side of what it was originally. You see downtown Disney. Effectively there's loads of restaurants and stuff like that. But the shops, so they've both got similar shops. They've got pin shops, they've got Disney merch shops. One of the main differences that I can think of is that Disney Springs has got a lot of branded shops. So effectively they've built a mall, as I said, on the side of it, so you can get things like Under Armour, there's a Superdry there, there's Uniqlo's amazing.
Yeah, we love
there is so much there that you can go in and shop. And Disney Village hasn't done that. They've kind of stuck to their guns. They've got like a Lego store, and they've got a couple of ones, but most of it's like Disney fashion, Disney stuff. So obviously it's all their own stuff, which is great. One thing that Disney Springs hasn't got, that Disney Village does, is a McDonald's. Now, this is great, I think. I think that Disney Florida does have McDonald's on site, but actually if you don't drive, it's quite difficult to get to. So I don't imagine the buses stop there. But you can walk to the Disney Village and you can then get yourself a McDonald's, and actually it's a McDonald's, everyone loves McDonald's really, everyone can get something from McDonald's. So it's definitely great on budgets and stuff. But when you compare the two together, if you took away all the additional shops and stuff, it then comes down to just the fact that they're pretty much the same, really.
No.
Do you think?
No.
I think they are.
They're completely different.
I think they're very similar.
I'm so biased. Disney Springs is just, I love Disney Springs.
Disney Springs is amazing. I do think it is, but when you think about it, it's just chain restaurants, Disney restaurants and Disney shopping. If you took out Uniqlo, you took out all the other stuff, it's no different.
It is. They've got in Disney Springs, they've got a whole store where they just sell snow globes and jewellery.
Yeah, they have got a jewellery shop in Disney Village as well.
I know it's because it's a lot bigger, but you cannot compare them. Disney Village is like one little street. Disney Springs is like a country. It's huge. Absolutely huge.
I feel like you're being very biased for Florida.
Oh, come on. Disney Springs is so much better.
It is, but I don't think it's that. I don't think it's like to the point where you could...
There wasn't a pin store.
There is a pin store in Disney Village.
No, there's not.
No, it's a store that sells pins.
They don't sell hardly any pins in
no,
Disneyland.
Florida don't, yeah.
Yeah,
Florida.
that's a good thing we haven't mentioned pins. There is not as many pins.
I'm just trying not to be too biased.
No, like, I will give credit to Paris when it's due credit, but you cannot compare the shopping between the two.
I guess that you don't go to Disneyland Paris to go shopping, whereas Disneyland Florida, you probably...
Disneyland Florida, I know how we're calling it that.
Disney World Florida, you can go to, you can go shopping, because you could literally shop in all them shops, but...
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just trying to be nice. I'm just trying to behave and not upset Disneyland Paris happy people, because it is an amazing park.
That's fine. So as Jez mentioned, there are some stores that are quite similar. A lot of the stores do sell like similar merchandise. So we've brought something in Disneyland Paris that we've seen in Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
And they both have a Christmas shop that's there all year round, so you can get your Disney Christmas decorations. The quality of the ones in Florida are a lot better. I'm sorry, but they are.
What, the Disney decorations?
In Florida, yeah. The ones in Disneyland, the baubles and stuff were cool.
Yeah.
But like the little hanging ones we got are just not as good.
Well, I feel like the actual, to look at them and the actual detailing was absolutely fine. The detailing was as good as each other. The difference was, if I threw a Paris one at the floor, it probably wouldn't break because it's not glass or anything like that. It's metal, not metal, it's plasticky kind of rubber, like a hard rubber. Whereas ones in Florida are like China or, you know what I mean?
So
they're a lot, they're obviously, but they are more expensive. They are more expensive in Florida. They were more money in dollars, a lot more money in dollars.
Yeah, but you could see why. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you go into the Christmas shop and they have like hundreds of things you can choose from.
Put it this way, when I put the Paris ones on the tree, I normally put them on, it doesn't really matter whereabouts I put them, whereas the Florida ones, I have to consider, they kind of have to go on 2 branches just because they're heavy, and if they fell they would smash into a million pieces, whereas the Paris ones I just stick back together because, so I actually feel that in terms of quality they look the same. I don't think the quality is only different, I just feel that actually I'm less worried about the Paris ones just because I don't think they're going to break, whereas the Florida ones, I'm like, they're going to break if anything falls. So when we have children, they're allowed to look at the tree but not touch.
Another thing is with Paris is they did theme a lot of the merchandise to France. So you can get a lot of, you know, Aristocrat stuff there. Obviously a lot of Ratatouille stuff because they have the Ratatouille ride as well. And yeah, a lot of it was just stuff that you know, related to France, which obviously in America, they didn't really have that, but I guess everything's based in America.
Yeah, but I feel like the one in Florida, they always have the classic films, always. Nightmare Before Christmas is always huge when we go, because we go so close to Halloween, but I always feel like it's very popular anyway.
Yeah.
But normally, whatever the most popular film at the time is,
or one of the newest films.
Not necessarily the newest. So for instance, like, when new films come out, if it doesn't do as well as, say, when Frozen first came out, Frozen was there for months and years. It's still, you can go there now and it's still hundreds and hundreds of merchandise. You go, but for Tangled, there's a lot less.
Yeah, but that's the same as the Disney store in England. You
go
to the Disney store and it's Frozen still.
It's popular. It's not about what's newest. It's normally what's popular and what sells. So there's loads of Frozen stuff, but not much Tangled stuff. I imagine there's going to be so much incredible stuff this year. Right, so the final section in our DLP versus WDW video is FastPasses. So this system is completely different across the 2 parks. In Walt Disney World, you do all your FastPasses online. The last time we went, they had like machines that you could do it on. I don't know if they still exist.
For people who don't have the app.
Yeah, don't have the app or on the ability to get onto a phone. And that's great. Whereas when in Paris, it's all done by tickets. So you get your ticket, you can't use a magic band, you get a paper-based ticket.
Very old school.
Put it into a machine, which I quite liked because actually got some nice pictures. You put it into a machine, it offers you a time, you pick a time, and then it gives you a fast pass, which is cool, it's good, but the issue is that it's like, I could be queuing for Peter Pan and get a fast pass for Splash Mountain, whereas in Paris, if I was queuing for Peter Pan and the fast pass queue opened for Space Mountain, I couldn't leave and go and do it quickly. I'd have to do it later, and I might risk missing it, because there's only certain times of the day where you can go and get a fast pass, and then you can't choose the time you want. It kind of gives you a section of maybe 1 or 2, sometimes 3 to choose from, so it's not as great as being able to just do it on your phone. So the other thing is, obviously with fast passes, you can book in advance in Florida, no matter if you're staying on property or not, whereas in Disneyland you can't book ahead of time. You kind of can only book on the day to get a fast pass, which isn't so bad, because then I guess if you forget, you can still do it. I mean, there are pros and cons to both sides of this. I love the fact that the magic bands in Florida are your everything: tickets, fast passes, key, money if you want it to be, everything pretty much. I think that's a great way of doing it. I understand Paris aren't going to do that. They might introduce it with this new avatar.
Disneyland don't have it.
No.
California soon.
But Disneyland Paris are now opening a new Avengers hotel, or will be. Maybe that'll be magic bands and...
I think they'll probably
eventually.
keep it retro.
I think eventually they will. I think eventually they'll go across.
Maybe.
Who knows? So yeah, that's our Disneyland Paris versus Walt Disney World Florida.
Just a comparison. Obviously we haven't talked about everything, and there's probably things that you guys are going to really disagree with. So let us know. We like to know, what you guys think. If you agree, if you disagree, if there's, do you prefer the shopping in Florida, the shopping in Paris? Let us know.
Yeah.
We love to know.
It's been a very biased, I feel.
Well,
I tried my hardest not to be, and you saw during the video that I tried not to be, but it's really hard. Like, this is the thing. Paris is amazing. It really is. It's so well themed. Everything about it is perfect. But I don't know. I feel like you're not. When I go to Disney World, I forget that I'm still here. I'm in Disney World. I'm not. It's like the whole thing is so immersive, and I could technically never need to leave. I wouldn't even know I've left. I'm just there. I could be there for the whole time. Whereas Disneyland Paris, I feel like you're not. It's different. It feels like you're not as immersed in it. But that was the whole reason that Walt Disney World was built, so that it was just the most happiest place on earth. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video.
leave us a comment, guys. We love to read them.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.